Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Steve Barber, and joining me as always is my fantastic co-host, Waylon Davis.
Hey, everybody.
And we are so just over the moon about our special guest today. We have none other than Wildcat Chris Harris. How are you, sir?
Doing great. It's good to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, believe me, the pleasure's on this side.
Absolutely.
Yep. So thank you so much for coming on. So how have you been?
I'm doing great, man. Just doing the thing, just rocking and rolling and wrestling.
Yeah. So and I know you've been a busy man lately because we were talking before we started recording. I mean, I've actually seen you at quite a few of the NWF events. It's just I haven't wanted to. I didn't want to interrupt you while you were working. If that makes any sense?
Okay. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yep. So. I appreciate you don't want somebody, hey, you're trying to focus on somebody's wrestling, and all of a sudden somebody, hey, how you doing, huh? So don't want to throw anybody's focus off. So in case anybody, wondered, Chris Harris, he is right now, I would say you're kind of an executive now at the Northern Wrestling Federation, more or less, aren't you?
A little bit, yeah. I don't know if we have an official term, but I'm definitely a representative of the NWF.
Oh yeah, I mean, last couple of events, you've been suited up, and I'm like, oh, okay, he's laying the law down. I like that.
We need some kind of authority figure around here.
We do. I mean, because you got some crazies in there. Adam Swayze, somebody needs to take care of him.
Oh yeah, I had to knock him a notch down, but then he came right back and got himself the title. So I guess he thinks he's calling the shots now.
Yeah, maybe, but you actually started out your career in the NWF, or at least you were trained by Roger, correct?
Well, I started my training elsewhere, but within a year, I was with the NWF. Yeah, it was real early on. Like I started with NWF back in '95.
Wow. Okay. Yes, because I saw your birth date because you're a Christmas baby. I saw.
Yeah.
Now you were born in Washington.
That's right.
How'd you end up in Kentucky?
My dad, this is where I'm from, but my father was stationed in the Navy base out there.
Oh, Yakima?
No, it was in Bremerton.
Bremerton? Okay. Okay. So you're Navy brat, more or less. All right.
Navy brat.
Yeah. And so Fort Wright is where you claim?
Yep.
Okay. So how did you find out about like a wrestling school before Bone Crushers? Because it would kind of make sense to know about Bone Crushers first, but you said you were elsewhere.
Yeah, I really didn't know anything about Bone Crushers. I just did some research at some well established schools, and I got hooked into there was one a while back that was really it was probably one of the more famous ones. It's called the Monster Factory.
Okay, Larry Sharp.
Larry Sharp was one of the head guys there, and they kind of split into three branches. Larry took care of one. Another one was run by Charlie Fulton, and so I went to a school from him up in Marion, Ohio. So it was a few hours away, but I knew it was very credible. So, and that's what I wanted. That's where I was looking to go. So I searched that out, went up there, got some information, saved up for about a year, and I was back up there. So I was one of those guys, a lot of these guys drive 10 minutes from their house for training. I was driving 3.5 hours every week, up there, getting the hell beat out of me for about 3 hours, and then driving 3 hours back, and then back up for regular work the next day. So it was quite a commitment, but it was something I believed in, and I was willing to go to all costs to make it.
So who were some of your influences and favorite wrestlers when you were growing up?
Well, as a fan growing up, I was the guy that loved Macho Man, Randy Savage. He was the big superhero to me. When you look at these guys, as someone else. But the more I got into the business, I started really studying guys like Bret Hart, just because I appreciated more on the actual work of it. And so I took a lot of my moves from Savage, from Brett, amongst others as well. So, but yeah, I was a big fan growing up. So a lot of those guys, you know, they were just they were larger than life, man. I mean, it was such a big deal to see these guys.
Wow. And all the research I was showing said you actually were in WCW in 2000.
Yeah, that's right.
And so you were with them when they closed then.
Yes, I was. You know, for all these years, you're trying to make it in the business. You know, it's you got the big two, you got WWF and you got WCW, and just to make it to one of those big two, I mean, that was the dream. And towards the end of '99, beginning of 2000, I started having connections with them, and they started bringing us in. They were doing a majority of our roles were security roles, but we were also getting some matches as well on their WCW Saturday night program, and then they had their Sunday program was worldwide, and so we were getting our matches and getting some experience doing that. And I think under normal circumstances, it would have been a good foot in the door to try to establish yourself in there. But yeah, the year 2000, I mean, that was the last year they were in business. So I'm sure there was a lot of turmoil in the back. I didn't see a lot of it, but yeah, it was just, you know, we hear stories about how much of a mess it was. And so it was just going downhill from there. And, you know, then come 2001, just something you would never expect, you know, the one of the big two go out of business. So it was just, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I was in shock too when that happened. How about you, Dwayne?
Oh yeah, I always figured Eric Bischoff would figure out a way to buy it, but then once AOL, you know, when they merged with Turner and pulled the TV deal, then that was kind of it. Because without like Eric Bischoff has always said, without TV, then the company wasn't worth anything.
Yeah, you have nothing if you don't. I mean, you need TV, especially a Turner broadcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what I was also reading, you're one of the original TNA members.
Yeah, I was there first day.
Yeah, I mean, now that company's been around now for what, 20 years?
20 years.
Yeah, 20 years.
Yeah, same.
Very exciting. I can't wait to see what they do for the 20 year coming up hopefully in June.
Will you be able to go to that, or
if they have something and I'm invited, I'd love to be there. I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
I would definitely think you'd be invited, because I mean, one of the inaugural members, and plus you and James Storm, just award-winning, title-winning. I mean, y'all were the tag team division. I mean, for a while there.
Yeah, I mean, you two pretty much built that tag team division from the ground up. I mean, without y'all, there wouldn't have been. I don't believe there would have been a stellar tag team division in TNA like it was.
Yeah, they put some key emphasis on obviously the big names for the I guess the main title. They were really big in presenting the X division, but they needed a strong tag team division as well. And you know, once Storm and I were put together, you know, we wanted to make as much of an impact as we could. So yeah, we went out there night after night and just did everything we could to tear the house down and get people interested and caring in tag team matches again.
Where did the idea for the America's Most Wanted concept, where did that come from?
Well, there was a lot of moving parts at the time. Obviously, they needed some big names to carry the company. They were looking to establish some homegrown stars. And I guess in the early days, Storm and I were both contacted to be part of the first event, and we were very comfortable that they knew they wanted us to be part of the company. I just don't think they knew exactly at the time what to do with us because there was just so much going on, and you're trying to put everybody in the right places. So I think it was just one of those one of those situations where they knew they wanted to do something with us. They didn't know what, so let's put them together and see what happens with that. And we were both, we had both previously been singles wrestlers, in like the indies and things like that. So, but when they came up with that idea, we just said, hey, if this is the opportunity they're going to give us, let's just run with it and be the best tag team we can.
And I'd say I think it worked out pretty well considering the TNA Tag Team of the Year in 2003 and 4, and the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Tag Team of the Year for 2004. And for me, growing up, because I started watching wrestling when I was about 10, and Dwaylen said you started watching when you were about 5. So the after mags, I mean, they were a big part of my life. I mean, I could have told you like every part of the month which one was going to be out, between like Pro Wrestling Illustrated, The Wrestler, Inside of Wrestling, Sports Review Wrestling, and all of them. And so the awards issue was always the one I looked forward to. One of the two, when they started doing the PWI 500, and I started looking forward to that one
Right.
too. But when you won it said you won Tag Team of the Year for PWI, I'm like, oh, that's it right there, for me. And
yeah, that's a big deal for me too, man. I mean, I was one of those kids that, going to the grocery store, you always want to run to the magazine aisle and start looking at what's going on. We didn't have the social media back then, so you try to find out everything you could that's going on. And so, when I started seeing my name and pictures pop up in magazines, that meant a lot to me. And then, to get to be awarded Tag Team of the Year, that was huge, man. So we took, that was a big accomplishment for us.
Now, did they just call you and tell you, or how did you find out about that? Or did you just happen to read it in the magazine and went, oh, okay.
Man, it's been so long, I don't even remember. I don't think we would have got a phone call. It may have just been kind of talked about, and they just do their research, and I think they just probably put it out. So I don't remember getting any kind of info for it. It probably just happened and we reacted to it.
Oh, did they ever give you the plaque?
Yeah, we got the plaque.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. And that same year, you were number 44 on the PWI 500. So it's like, okay, we have a great tag team wrestler and a great singles wrestler.
Yeah, that was around the same time. I think there was a period in there where Storm got hurt, and so they started letting me do some singles. So I think that really helped elevate me that year in the rankings, because I did a lot of singles matches that year while Storm was on the shelf, and that really helped out. So that was really high ranking for me. I mean, like we were talking about, I mean, the PWI 500 was a big deal. Some guys just want to be mentioned in something like that. So to be ranked number 44, you said, that's really big deal.
If I remember right, didn't you wrestle that year when you were doing singles? Didn't you wrestle Jeff Jarrett for the title?
Yeah, they had. I was with all the top contenders at the time, and they were obviously establishing AJ. But Raven was still around. Ron Killings was around, I did a whole run with Jeff there for a while. So that really helped establish me, and I think the whole story itself was really good because people bought me as a legit contender for Jeff.
Yep.
And not only that, but you got your own action figure.
That's right. That's when it says you made it.
Yeah.
Yep. And also, I had the autographed picture. Now, I actually won this from the Jay and Trey podcast.
Okay.
Yep. And because they had a trivia question of what year you were in the WWE, and I immediately went on there and I answered it. And then they had to, with all the other people who answered it correctly, they ended up drawing my name basically out of a hat. And so they brought it to me at the Rumble down in Covington.
Okay, cool.
and that was the same day that I bought I just happened to run into it in the store House of Plastic. I was telling your wife about that, where I got it. It's the very same day. That morning I had nothing. That after, by the time the evening ended, I had 2 things with your autograph.
It was Wildcat Day.
Yeah.
It really was. So, So where did the nickname Wildcat come from? Are you a Kentucky fan?
It's crazy. Being from Kentucky, you would think that it all revolves around that, but no, I'm really not much of a basketball fan at all. So it's crazy to think that. I was coming up with some different names when I first started, and one of the names that kind of stuck was Wild Man. And my first few matches, that's what they billed me as. And somehow, as I started wrestling in Kentucky and started wrestling for NWF, it just kind of snowballed into a Wildcat thing. So maybe, I think maybe it transformed into that because of Kentucky Wildcats, maybe. But that was never my intention. But it just stuck, and it kind of fit. So hey, I ran with it, and it's been with me ever since.
Hey, Joel, I think we met one of the few people from Kentucky who actually doesn't really keep up with basketball.
Yeah, I know. Just like I'm one of the few people, because I'm from Kentucky. I live in West Paducah, and I'm not a UK fan. I am a Tar Heels fan.
Okay.
And people always look at me, "You're from Kentucky and don't like UK?" No, I do not.
Yeah, I mean, there's like Commonwealth laws against that, but
yeah.
My family's big into it.
Oh, and I actually, Dwayne and we actually met in high school down in Hopkinsville when I moved there. So yeah, we're graduates of Christian County in 1991. Yep. So
I've wrestled in Hopkinsville.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, where at? Like
I couldn't even tell you, but I remember that town.
Probably. I was thinking probably at the Armory.
Probably an armory, or maybe if there's a big school, maybe it could have been at a school. Maybe, I don't know.
Oh, maybe the convention center, Dwaylen. They're at the fairgrounds.
Could have been. Yeah, that's
because
true.
They used to have Lawler's or Lawler Jarrett. Their company used to come up there occasionally and wrestle.
Do they have fairs there every year?
Western Kentucky State Fair. Yep.
Yeah, there was a building right. If I'm thinking of it correct, I'm not sure, but there was a building right by the fair.
Yep.
That's probably it.
Hopkinsville, yep. And we would wrestle there because I remember after that we'd kind of go hang out at the fair afterwards. So.
Yep.
That's it.
That was it. Yep.
Yeah, during the summertime, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And it was blazing hot outside.
Oh
too.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, but anyway, back to other things besides Hoptown. And I say you were also the Wrestling Observer Tag Team of the Year. And to me, that's also kind of a big deal because that's, Meltzer,
That's Meltzer. Yeah.
Yeah. So, getting all kinds of accolades. I mean, and I think that speaks volumes. I mean, about your ability and, and what the fans and your peers think of you.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big thrill. I mean, when we talk about the magazines and then, with, who'd you just say?
Meltzer. And the Wrestling Observer.
Yeah, I mean that's always been a big deal in the business. So to be credited for that, yeah, I mean just some huge honors, really.
I know you wrestled. I know AMW had a huge feud with Christopher Daniels and Elix Skipper. Y'all had some great tag team matches, but that match at Turning Point 2004, the cage match where it was like, was it tag title versus the team? Like y'all had to split up if you lost. I know you took that Elix Skipper Hurricane Rana from the top of the cage.
Ooh.
How did that, whose idea was that, and what was that like taking that move from the top of the cage? Because I mean, I can only imagine taking it from the top rope, but taking it from the very top of the cage.
Yeah, I mean, that was all Elix. That was all his idea. And, we were trying to, a lot of people forget of our first cage match during the probably 03. And then this one was 04. So we had a pretty incredible cage match with those guys in 03. And then this was the rematch.
Was that during the Asylum days?
Right. Yeah. And that was such a great match. And then for this rematch, there was a part of us that we kind of knew that we weren't going to top it, but we just wanted to go out there and just some fresh ideas and do our best. I mean, all in all, we wound up topping it because that's the one people remember. But yeah, I mean, it was just a lot of we were talking about the accolades before. Part of the reason we were like that is because of the teams we worked with. I mean, we worked with some amazing teams, and Daniels and Skipper, they were two of the best. But yeah, that day Elix, had this idea, and what a lot of people forget is Elix, this was kind of one of his moves that he did from the top rope a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He would walk the top rope and perform a Hurricane Rana into the ring. And he had this idea about walking the cage and doing it. And I can remember, I don't know, 2-3 times maybe him bringing it up to me. And it was just such a risky move, such a dangerous move that, right away I was kind of like, no, let's not go there. And, he would ask me again later on, and same thing. I don't think we need it. And it got to the point where he had me thinking about it. And the more I thought about it, I was just thinking how the risk factor is definitely there. But
yeah,
if we could pull this off, how amazing that would be. And so yeah, a little bit later in that day, I went up to him myself, and I said, Elix, I said, can you really do this? Can you really pull this off? And without hesitation, he said, yes, I can do it. And I think the confidence that he was showing me really made a difference to me, because he had no weariness about it at all. I mean, he was the man was so confident, and when he said that, I was like, okay, let's do it. And that's not something there's no dry run on that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no practice.
It's
like he says he can do it. I say, okay, I'll get up there, and here we go. And people still talk about it today, man. So it's amazing.
I can't count how many times I've watched that clip, and I watched it earlier today, and I'm still, after all this time, amazed. Not only him being able to do it, but you taking that bump from that high up. It's like, that was just, man, that's a credit.
Elix always gets all the credit for that.
No, it's like both of y'all deserve the
how
credit.
long the way it is down.
Yeah.
Now,
But that was amazing.
How high was that cage?
I'm gonna say, I don't know, maybe close to 15, maybe, I don't know.
I think that's what
it was definitely a higher one than most cage matches are.
Yeah, I think Mike today said on commentary I think he said either 15 or 16.
Yeah.
So,
because the way you can judge it is most cage matches, if you're standing on the top rope, you can reach the top of the, you can, sometimes you can see over the top rope or see over the cage. This particular cage that TNA used in the days, I mean, you had to reach to get to the top. So
they were tall.
It was much higher.
Man. And all I'm thinking, honestly, is like Kurt Angle doing the moonsault off the top of a cage.
Yeah.
Did he ever do that there? Do you know of?
In TNA?
In TNA, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And even then, knowing from experience, I thought to myself, this guy's crazy for coming down, and especially if you miss it. I mean, it's such impact on your knees and
and he usually missed it. Usually his opponent got out of the way, and he's just he's just hitting flat, and I'm like, oh, that's got to
I don't know about that.
So are cage matches some of your favorite gimmick matches?
Actually, yeah. I'm old school, so I like the old school gimmick matches, and the cage matches. I just loved them. I loved working in them. I just think it adds to their creativity. And I always loved the story that it built. I mean, because the cage matches was the ultimate. It was the ending of a long-standing feud to keep interference from getting in and keeping the guys from getting out. So I just all around loved cage matches. They were done so well. They were built up so well. So it was exciting. So yeah, coming from that, growing up like that, I loved having a program in a cage match.
Yeah, because I remember some of the older, old, from like the Mid-Atlantic days, because that's what I grew up watching for the most part. And they had like of course, TA and Tully, the I Quit match in the cage, and Flair and just about everybody in a cage, because Flair won his first, he won the title from Harley Race in the cage at Starrcade. And yes, I've always dug a good cage match too. Obviously I've never been in one, but yeah, I would think that if you did have your face rubbed along the fence there, it probably wouldn't feel too good.
No, the cage will definitely rip some skin.
So one cage match that you had, and probably maybe not one of your highlights, but the blindfold cage match with you and Storm.
Oh yeah.
Lockdown.
How did that come about?
Well, like what I was just saying, I mean, story wise, it fit. People just look at that night and how it turned out. And that's kind of why it's looked down on so much. The match itself really wasn't a bad match, considering it was a blindfold match, but it was just the story. And now this also is on the pay-per-view of Lockdown, which every match is like that. So that kind of takes away from the impact of a cage match. But they wanted to put Storm and I in there. This was after the whole angle with the beer bottle and blind in my eye, and so story wise, it really made a lot of sense to be in a blindfold match. Problem is, it's just this day and time, people just didn't want to see Storm and I in there in a gimmick match. They wanted to see us beat the hell out of each other. And
yeah, they wanted more of a street fight or something than
which we wound up following up with the Texas Death Match. But but yeah, for that first time, for Storm and I to get our hands on each other first and a blindfold match, the people just weren't having it, and they let us know it. So yeah, like I said, I don't look at it as a bad match, but it was just maybe badly booked to where maybe it just wasn't right for the times. I don't know. It was just a learning experience, but wrestling 101, that's where it would take us. You blind one guy, you go into a blindfold match, but
yeah,
people just didn't want to see it at that time.
That Texas Death Match was brutal, though. I remember watching that one. That was,
that one we definitely made up for it in that one.
I was going to say, y'all put everything out there in that one.
I think we were trying to, obviously we wanted to give people the payoff that they wanted. But yeah, we had some making up to do as well. I mean, that's what the people wanted, and that's what we gave them.
Yeah, because I think anytime you have a tag team, especially a tag team as hot as what y'all were, and then you split them up and put them against each other, I mean, I think that just kind of adds to the intrigue and makes people really want to watch it.
Yeah, when you have again back in that time, the reason America's Most Wanted worked so well is because there wasn't a lot of mainstay tag teams at the time, and so with that on top of it, a lot of guys they'd get together, they'd put them together, and then within 6 months they've had a title run, they've been split up and feuded, and it was just so overdone. With us, we had a good 5 years in there as a team to build on that and to where people cared, and we had a babyface run, we had our heel run. It was just, we did everything that they were not seeing in tag teams at the time. So when it come time for us to for us to split up, that's what we wanted to give them a intense feud to what they wanted to see. They wanted to see us draw blood.
So which do you prefer, face or heel?
I've been asked that a lot. I think for me personally, it was always I think I was always a better babyface. It just seemed to always go with the flow of where I was or my opponent or anything like that. But I'll tell you, that heel run for America's Most Wanted, I think it was much needed. It gave us a whole new life, and we certainly had fun with it. I mean, it's you will hardly find anyone that steps in the ring to say they don't have more fun being a heel.
Yeah,
I may have been a better babyface, but it's definitely more fun to be a heel.
Wow.
So you and Storm won 6 tag team titles, right?
Right.
And then you and Skipper won.
We won one. Yeah. Yep.
And what I was reading, not just in TNA either, you also went down to Puerto Rico and won the WWC tag titles.
Yeah. Yeah. We made a few trips down to Puerto Rico and Mexico. We were up in Canada. We were traveling a lot for even during those days, those early days of TNA.
Wow. So what all countries have you been to besides Mexico and Canada and Puerto Rico?
Really, that's for me. That's it. I know Storm's been a lot more, but during those early days, we weren't doing a lot of overseas. It was just kind of the North America area. But I know that it was. I think it was right after I left that they started doing some overseas tours. So it was just on the verge.
Yeah. So you're talking about tag teams and like really establishing the teams that are together for a while, and then all of a sudden they split up. The Hollywood Blondes, I'm going to go bring up, the NWF now. When they split, I'm like, oh, that's going to be a great feud because they were such a good team, when they were together. And they were together for 5 years, maybe.
I don't know if it's been that long, but it was a long time.
It was a while. And then when I saw them split at the Summer Sizzler, and Rex wouldn't lay down for Swayze, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be a great feud, and it has been.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten a lot of people's attention, and it's one of those stories where, while you might think, okay, they'll eventually split up and go their own ways, it's how emotional you can get into it and how intense it can be. And with something like that, where Swayze's trying to get Rex to lay down and he doesn't, I mean, it just gets the emotion out of the people where they want Rex to kick Swayze's ass. So it was very well done, and the people just 100% got behind Rex, and he became one of the most popular stars we have.
Oh, I think that may be understating it. I mean, that dude, every time he walks out, people are just cheering and screaming, and he's a big dude.
He is a big guy.
Oh,
he reminds me a lot of Abyss in his early days.
Whew. Yeah, Dwaylen. He's one of those you can't really appreciate until you actually see him in person.
Oh, okay. One of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest person I've ever seen in real life was Mabel from WWF.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest human being I'd ever seen. Like, I'm 6 feet tall, and I'm just looking up at him like, okay, hey.
Yeah, you kind of expect him to be big when you look at him on TV, but standing next to him, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Actually, the biggest person I've ever seen in person wasn't a wrestler. It was actually Sean Bradley.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that was actually when I was in Afghanistan. He actually made a visit with some retired NBA players, and I just looked and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, he's like 7'6". It's like
something like that.
Ridiculous.
And you remember how skinny he was in the NBA? He wasn't skinny anymore. I mean, he was
like, oh wow.
Yeah. I mean, he just huge. Man. So one of the things I've also just from talking to the people at the NWF, all the wrestlers, and I always ask them about their training and things like that, and they always mention you as a mentor, as a top trainer, and they say they always want your input on what they're doing. Now when you're hearing that, I mean, does that make you feel pretty good just knowing that how you're affecting them in a positive way?
Oh, that makes me feel great because at this stage of my career, that's what I want to do is try to give back and help share some of my experience and knowledge with those guys. So just as important as the shows are to myself, it's the training that's involved as well. So, I'll show up at Bone Crushers, try to help these guys out. And while they may have other guys that can put them through drills, I like to school them more on the psychology and not just how to do something. I will definitely help them execute any type of maneuver or spot, but what I really want them to know is not just how to do it, but know when and where to do it. Make it make sense, to when you're putting a match together. I try to help them with promos because that's part of storytelling. Just anything. And then part of training to me is, getting in the gym. I mean, we need to look like professional athletes. And I know, when you first start out, that may not be a top priority at the time. You just want to live out your dream and get in the ring. But if I try to stress these guys, if they have anything to pursue, if they're looking to go anywhere with this, then I can tell them what you need to do to get there. So yeah, they go out of their way to tell me that, and it really makes me feel good, and I definitely appreciate that. And knowing that I'm making a difference just makes me want to help them even more. I mean, whatever I can do for these guys, I will do.
Now, are you still wrestling, or are you just training now?
No, I haven't wrestled in a while. I'm one of those guys. I never say retire just because this is the wrestling business.
Right.
So, I never say I'm retired, but no, I prefer to stay out of the ring. It really hurts nowadays.
Yeah, I bet.
As I got older, it's just, I just don't have the desire to do that as much. But since being back with the NWF over the past several years, there's a lot of fulfillment I get out of just helping these guys. When I see them going on to other promotions and other bookings and making a name for themselves and making connections and getting their opportunity, whether it's with Impact or AEW, on tryout matches, things like that. I mean, I love seeing things like that. And it's like Roger Ruffin has said for years. I mean, the better they do, the better it is for the NWF. I mean, to be able to say that, hey, these guys came from here, and to see them shine and go on be superstars. And I've always said, I hope they make as much money as they can in this business. It's there. We just got to reach out and grab it.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think the ones lately that have been like on AEW Dark, like Nikki Victory and Lord Crew and Nasty Russ, and I think it was T Money was also there.
Money was with Nasty, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those were. I was glad to see that. I was like, hey, I know them. Yeah. And
I really have a lot of high hopes for Lord Crew. I've spent a lot of time with him. We're very close, and I think he's just on the verge of making a breakthrough there. And then most recently it was Nikki Victory. I think she could fit very well into the women's division. She's gotten some years under her belt with experience, so I hope something happens for her too. But we got a lot of great superstars that that they just keep working hard, and I mean, you never stop learning. So you just keep working hard, and there's more opportunities out there now than there has been. Not just promotions, but I mean, there's a lot of the indie promotions are bigger than ever nowadays. So if you get your name out there and you're willing to travel, you can make some money on the indies.
Yeah. I know I usually don't watch like AEW Dark just because I watch so much wrestling during the week. It's like I don't really have room for one more show. Yeah. Except when I find out that an NWF wrestler's on there, so then I fit it in so I can watch them.
I kind of fit in there with you, man. There's so much going on that I try to keep up with that I don't get a chance to watch everything, and Dark being one of them. But yeah, if I find out that some of our guys are going to be on there or someone I know, I'll make sure I tune in and check it out.
And Nikki Victor, I still remember the first time that I can recall actually seeing her live was in Mount Orb, and she took a spine buster from Ryan Stone. And I was like, oh, holy crap. And I was like, is she crippled? No, she managed to get up. It wasn't easy for her. But the fact that she took that, I was like, okay, she's pretty tough.
Yeah, I've seen her take that a few times from Ryan, and it was like Ryan was trying to break her in half. So he wasn't letting up on her.
No, I mean, because there's a huge size difference between them.
Yeah.
And actually, your spine buster, from just watching, I was watching quite a few highlights of your matches, the past few days, and your spine buster is pretty nasty too.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite moves. I love the spine buster. You can catch it out of nowhere, and it's very very impactful, very devastating.
And
I know. Go
no,
ahead.
no,
Go
no,
ahead.
I was gonna say, go ahead, Will.
Oh, okay. I know you and Storm were the NWA World Tag Team Champions. What was it like holding that particular set of tag team titles? Because I mean, those were belts that, you know, Tully and Arn had, and the Road Warriors and the Midnight Express, and the, you know, with that legacy, what was it like holding that title?
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought then. You know, being NWA related, and being able to hang on to those titles, that's exactly why it meant so much, because of the years I watched of teams you just said coming up, and those are the teams we studied when we became a tag team. You know, we were studying, you know, the Horsemen and the Midnights, Rock and Rolls, yeah, just I mean the Road Warriors, you know, amongst other WWE teams, but yeah, those guys. I mean, those belts were prestigious to us. So, you know, being able to win them, even just the first time, we were like, you know, hey, our names are going to go down right besides these guys, and
Right.
and then to become what we became, and holding them 6 times, and you know, being one of the longest reigning tag teams there was. It was just, that's pretty powerful stuff to us, man. I mean, that's a big deal, you know, when you go back to the lineage of NWA. You know, it wasn't just independent promotion that you get and they're gone. I mean, this was the NWA tag team titles, you know, where some badass teams have held.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Actually, what I was going to mention was your spine buster looked pretty close to the originator of the spine buster. You know, Double A Arn Anderson, because you're both left-handed, so you both spin to your right. You know, so that's one of the weird things that I've actually told you. Well, I noticed that when I was a lot younger, you could almost pick out who's left-handed, who's right-handed, you know, just from the direction they turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. I never thought of it like that, but no, Arn was one of the guys I watched for that spine buster. I thought his was executed to perfection, and yeah, now that you say it, yeah, being that we're both left-handed, you know, we would veer to the right, so so I could pinpoint his exactly.
Yeah, and I guess he invented the spine buster and the gourd buster, which I think is that's
Mhm.
that's an ugly move right there. It's like,
Yeah.
ooh, that's gonna hurt.
I'm surprised nobody's brought that back out, because that's, you know, that's a pretty high impact move.
Yeah, you know what? I could see somebody in the NWF doing that move, because it does need to be brought back, honestly. So
I'm too old for that.
well, we weren't saying that you need to be the one to take it first. Oh, I had a question on top of my head. It didn't lost me. Go ahead, Waylon. I'm pretty sure you have something.
Yeah, I did till you asked me. But trying to think, where else have you won? I know you said you won titles in Puerto Rico, of course, in TNA. Is there anywhere else that you've won championships?
Oh, there's been many indie promotions that I've won titles. Whether it was you know, my singles, you know, winning promotions top prize, or when Storm and I were traveling a lot, you know, we'd go to a lot of different places, and they would immediately put us in running for their tag team titles, and
Okay.
many times we had a run with that. Our most recent, let's see, I want to say this was maybe 17 or 18. It actually, you know, you were asking about it before. The place I started training up in Ohio, we did an event in Mansfield, Ohio. As a promotion called the ASWA, and they decided to bring Storm in. He was still pretty active, and they put us in a tag team title match with their champions, and Storm and I wound up winning that title.
Awesome.
During days where I thought my titles were long past, but yeah, we wound up winning that. So I mean, it was just as few as you know, a few years ago. We were still winning titles. So you know, it's always a big deal, because while some promotions may not have the TV exposure, they still have their loyal fans. So those
Right.
titles still mean something to somebody. So
Right.
it's still a big deal, and we take pride in that.
And something else that I've not even mentioned yet, you're an NWF Hall of Famer.
Yeah, that is
Yep,
amazing, huh?
that's right.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I mean, just seeing, the company you're with there, you're talking like Abyss and you're talking Tiny Tim. I mean, that's some pretty good company right there.
Oh yeah, it was just 2020. They put me in, and that's a huge accomplishment for me. Being that NWF is where I started, and I have a long history there. So it was, I felt it was very fitting and a great spot to be. And I'm proud to be a Hall of Famer in there, and as well as all the guys. But yeah, pretty big deal. And NWF's in my blood, so I'm very excited about that.
And Dwaylen, you have any more questions? Because I got a couple more, but I want to make sure you get.
No, go ahead. I think I've asked everything I wanted to ask.
Okay. Next question, and these are actually non-wrestling questions, and we don't get to ask everybody this one, but since you're from the Cincinnati area, Gold Star or Skyline?
Skyline.
Well, it's been unanimous so far. Everybody.
Yeah, it really has.
Yeah, I've always been a Skyline guy.
Yeah, I want to say Ella was like, "What are you kidding me, Skyline?" and apparently they have it like every Sunday. I was like, "Oh, so she's a loyal fan of Skyline."
Oh yeah, that's you definitely. When I was doing so much traveling, even though I was living here, I did so much traveling, and you take for granted the things that are around a lot. But so when we would come back from TV or whatever events we were doing, Abyss and I were almost always together. And anytime we came in town, right from the airport, we'd meet a group of guys at Skyline. And that was before we even went home. We wound up going to Skyline to have lunch, just a little powwow with everybody. But that was our thing, what we did. And so, it just became part of our schedule.
Yeah, because I mean, I got to admit, just not being from here originally, and my wife, of course, they grew up, they like Gold Star better, but then I had Skyline. I'm like, I think I like this one a little bit better than that one. But then they turned me on to Frisch's with the whole tartar sauce thing, which I didn't think I would like, but I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. But it's got to be Frisch's tartar sauce. Can't be anything else. So, speaking of being on the road, when you're just driving on a road, if you have a long trip, what would be on your music playlist typically?
Oh wow, man, I had this is before you had your playlist. I was just popping in CDs. I listened to a lot of Nickelback, Three Doors Down. They were big groups that I would listen to. I know for a long time I was a Creed fan. But honestly, what a lot of times when I think back to those, not only was it music that got me through a lot of the driving, but I would listen to a lot of comedy. That would just kind of keep me going, and it would just make the miles fly by. So I would have a lot of comedy CDs, a lot of I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him, but there's a guy called Roy D. Mercer. He was a prank caller.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man, I would pop those in, and I think I drove everybody who rode with me crazy. I couldn't get enough of that, man. And I would just, hey, let's listen to another one. That's really important, man. When you are hours on the road, you want to try anything just to make that time pass by. So, that was a key thing, man. Whatever CDs I had, that's what was getting me to the next town.
Oh. And as far as the events coming up, I know there's Ludlow this Saturday. Yep. And unfortunately, I try to make all the Ludlow shows because that place is just insane.
That's one of, I mean, when they get a chance to perform there, that's probably one of the guys' favorites. Just the crowd is intense. It's kind of a enclosed area, so you feel like the fans are right there on top of you. They can reach out and grab you. Everybody just really loves performing there. So that's one of our bigger events. So yeah, we're really looking forward to that. Every time we come around, looking forward to that this Saturday.
Is that at the Ludwig Theater?
That's right.
That's the one that you and Roger were saying there wasn't a bad seat in the house.
Yeah, there's
That's the
really
one you
not.
were-
And they even have some balcony seats that you can get really good views of the ring.
Awesome.
Yeah, and there's nowhere for the sound to go, so the energy just stays
just right there.
I mean,
That's right.
it's
Yeah.
amazing. And unfortunately, I'm going to end up missing this one, and I feel like I'm cheating on the NWF, but I'm actually going to the show in Chillicothe, the one that's being put on, I think, by Bobby Fulton. And it's a pretty big event. Actually, Big Mama, she's going to be there wrestling as well.
That's this weekend as well, right?
Yeah, same day. So,
Okay.
like I said, I feel like I'm cheating on the NWF, so I'll say I'm sorry.
You are. But yeah, I've heard they got some really good names there. So hopefully that's a big success as well.
So, as far as social media, because I know you're on Facebook and Twitter, anything else?
Facebook and Instagram. I got AMW Wildcat Chris Harris is my Instagram,
Okay.
which usually my wife helps me out with because I haven't gotten that far. But yeah, I do Twitter, Facebook, and then she's got me going on the Instagram now. So that's it.
All right, cool. So, Dwaylen, you have anything else?
No, nothing else. It's been an absolute absolute pleasure talking to you. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, it's great chatting with you guys. We'll have to make sure we grab each other at the events now.
Oh, definitely. Because after Ludlow, the next weekend is, well, what are you doing the next weekend? Because on the 26th,
Should be Covington.
Okay.
Back
Yeah,
in Covington.
Yeah, because that's the one Miranda Gordy's going to be at, right?
Well, she was. I think we have some change of plans.
Oh,
I don't know details, but yeah, I don't think she's going to be there now.
I was going to reach out to her and try to get on the podcast beforehand, but I don't know now. So, I mean, I still wouldn't mind having her on, but but if I was going to help, definitely if I was going to help promote the show, absolutely have her on.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't think she's going to be there now. So, but maybe a future event.
Okay. So, you have any last words for all the people out there before we say goodbye?
No, just I always send out a big thank you. I look back at my career and I'm very happy with what I've done. I've had some great highlights, and so much of it has been because of the fans, and the support over the years. And even though I don't take a whole lot of bumps anymore, I'm still very much involved. This is what I know. Wrestling is what I love, and big thank you to guys like you, man. I mean, just the fact that you take the time to do this and bring in future superstars, such as the NWF has, and give them time to be able to talk about, where they want to go and, their vision. So thank you to you guys, and thank you to all the fans.
No, like Dwaylen said, thank you, Chris, for coming on. It was definitely a pleasure.
Yeah, we'll do it again sometime, man.
Oh,
Yes,
absolutely. Sir. Yeah, but until we see each other again, God bless.
Sounds
God
great.
bless.
Thanks, guys.